everyone, and welcome to WGBS TV Live, brought to you by SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. In this, our August 4th, 2020 show, we're going to be covering a range of topics, including some of the things happening around the comic book world. We're going to be talking Smallville, we're going to be talking a lot of different things. But to let you know how you can get involved in tonight's show and how you can possibly be a caller on tonight's show, let me introduce you to my co-host, the Prince of Podcasts, Mr. Michael Bailey. Hey, Mike.
How you doing, Steve?
Yeah, doing well, thanks. Yourself?
I'm doing okay. Actually, I had to pull a Prince Harry and step down as the Prince of Podcasts because I married my wife. So now we're living in relative anonymity. But that is neither here nor there. We are here tonight to talk about Superman, and since WGBS Live is all about Superman, we want to hear from the people watching us right now live on YouTube. So if we don't have a whole lot on the docket, which is usually the case, we usually have too much actually, and we can do it, we usually take calls about halfway through the show. So how do we do that? Well, it's really simple. You're going to need Skype. Get on Skype, find Superman homepage, and then message us that you'd like to be on the show. Now, a couple of things. One, message us. Don't just call us because that can kind of throw things off. And the hamsters who are running the wheel that is sending this message live across the ether get really confused by that. And two, if you're watching WGBS Live with an external speaker, please mute that because we are on a bit of a delay. And if your speaker is on, it kind of creates a little bit of havoc. So, yeah.
Indeed, and for those of you tuning in live via YouTube to watch tonight's show, we invite you to join in and chat with fellow fans. You can post your comments and ask questions, and Michael and I will keep an eye on what you have to say to react to them as the show goes on. So get involved, and if you want your comment featured on the screen live during the show, feel free to post a super chat. All you have to do is click on the dollar bill symbol, and then the slider will appear. You just decide how much you want to donate, and we will feature your comment or question on the screen. And a huge thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham and John Patrick Van Pelt. Well, Michael, it's been a relatively quiet week in the world of Superman. I've decided to box myself in with this brick wall around me. The world outside is just getting too much, so I've bricked up where I am and just kind of self-isolating.
Did Superman and Batman build that for you, like that time on the radio show where they took like an entire episode to do some masonry in Clark's apartment?
No, actually, it was just Superman on his own. He used his brick building vision.
I hear people are trying to redo that so that it doesn't look like that anymore. No,
yeah, I saw that on Facebook. A good friend of ours doing some interesting and impressive stuff, redoing some of the special effects from Superman 4 and films like that.
Yeah, I two things. One, I think the reason why it's quiet is that DC is gearing up for Fandom, so they're not going to be putting out too much probably in the next couple of weeks unless something breaks. And two, unlike our conversation about the enhanced version of Superman the movie, I think fixing the special effects of Superman 4 would actually improve the film. I think that's one of those things where, let's do that and see how that looks. Because, they cut some corners. And by cut some corners, I mean they cut the budget directly in half. So,
indeed. So let's get into today's topics. And with movie news, as we were just discussing, we started a new feature at the Superman homepage. Each Monday we post things like Superman on TV, Superman in the comics, and we've also now added Superman at the movies to let you know where one of the Superman films or any of the Superman films are screening at a theater or drive-in near you, mostly in the US, but if we get some input, we will do for other countries as well. So for this week, Superman the movie will be screening at the Paramount 5 in Rexburg, Idaho, from now till August 6th at 6:30 p.m. each night. Also, Superman the movie will be screening at the Imagine Novi Drive-In Theater in Novi, Michigan on Friday, August 7th at 9:30 p.m. And there's a special screening of Superman the movie at the Admiral Twin in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Sunday, August 9th at 8 p.m. So a new feature that we're doing at our website, letting you know where Superman the movie or any of the Superman films is screening each week.
I like that graphic too. That's I mean, they're gonna have to do some work on that wall too. The symbol apparently either fell into it or something, but no, that's cool. I like that so many drive-in theaters are showing the film.
Mm. So yeah, it's a new feature that we're going to be doing each week, so that we can let you know where any of the Superman films are screening. Because it's a well, we've all seen these movies. Superman the movie, we've probably seen it millions and millions of times. It is a new experience, a different way of sitting through the film with other fans. If it's in a theater, drive-in, not so much, but yeah, it is. It's a different experience seeing it on the big screen.
Oh yeah, I remember when they were showing it for the 40th anniversary, sitting in the theater during the star fields, like when you're flying, when the camera's going through space, is completely different when you're in a theater and everything's really dark and it literally looks like it's going past you.
Mm.
Yeah, so if you have a chance, I mean, I know no one's trying to go to the theater much lately, but even seeing it like in a drive-through, drive up. It's been a long day. Even seeing it at a drive-in, I think would probably be pretty exciting.
Yeah, indeed. So, yeah, as I said, new feature we'll be doing each week at the website. But that's all there is with it, the movie side of things. So, as I said, relatively quiet week. And as you said, DC Fandom is coming up on August 22nd. So, probably a lot more news will come out on that day. But something that did happen this past week or so was on July 30th. The FanExpo Canada held a virtual experience for Smallville fans that featured an interactive Q&A with Tom Welling, Kristen Kruk, and Michael Rosenbaum. And the hour-long video is now up on our website if you want to check that out. Here's a small snippet from that in which they talk about, mostly Michael, I think it is here, it talks about, and Kristen, I think, too, to a degree, what Smallville would have been like if they had really been at the height of social media on the internet at the time, and the fact that they didn't have to really deal with any of that, and whether or not social media would have had an impact on the way the show was run, or what the creators would have done, or indeed the actors themselves. So have a look at this, and also I think this snippet I'm going to show you is mostly about the length of the season, how they did 22 episodes and pretty much spent 9 months of a year filming Smallville for each season, when nowadays most of the shows on that they're working on have been down that 10 episode type of length of a season. And here's a bit about that.
Okay, cool. Talking about how busy and how demanding this show was, I don't think that's surprising to anyone that watched it and for the fans. But it's interesting, when this was being filmed, it was still, 20, 21, 22, 23 episodes a season, which is such a haul. And decreasingly so. We're seeing fewer of those types of shows outside of, I guess, certain network shows. Could you go back to that kind of schedule? I mean, I guess, Kristen, with Beauty and the Beast, you had some pretty big episode orders, but
we did 2 seasons of 21, 22, and it was normal at that point in time, and then we brought it down to 13, and now I do 8 episodes in a season, and I can't imagine doing 9 months out of the year on a show. I can't imagine writers having to write 21 to 23 episodes of a show in a season. It just seems like a crazy amount of work.
When you figure, yeah, Kristen, it's right. It's like,
Yeah, so there you have it. There's the Kristen talking about the fact that she just couldn't imagine having to do a 22 episode run anymore, and that the writers there, the amount of work involved in having to do that. Interesting how things and times have changed.
Yeah, in going on, how social media would have impacted. I think, and Mind the Gap actually kind of touched on it in the chat. the message boards were pretty volatile. Is that the best way to say it? I mean, look at the comment section. Look at the comment section under like any given episode review that you posted. I'm not saying that people were evil, but the Superman homepage was rather cantankerous in terms of the comments are still bad, but that was the only way you could really express your thoughts. So we gave them, you gave them. I was involved, but not as extensively. You and Neil and Scotty V, gave them a platform to express their opinion about it. And most of the time, like half the comments were arguing with Neil, and half the comments were just expressing their opinion because it's the only place. Now that you have Facebook, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and the shows themselves are encouraging you to post about it. It's a completely different place. It's now more of a public square than a private club, and I can't imagine what it would have been like, not only for Michael Rosenbaum and Tom Welling, but Allison Mack and Erica Durance and Kristen Crook. Just the scrutiny, and Kristen was still a teenager at the time, so it's just like you add that on top of it. I'm kind of glad it worked out the way it did, because I don't know if it would have impacted the show as in they would have made changes to the show, but I'm sure it would have impacted how the people felt, how the actors felt, in terms of, just their own, what is that called? What am I trying to say? Self-esteem.
Yeah. It is interesting thinking about social media and the impact that it does have on television shows. I know, back in the day, certain movies, and probably to lesser an extent now because of, Rotten Tomatoes and stuff like that, or tomatoes, depending on how you want to say it, has an impact. The fan reviews and the interaction with fans definitely has an impact on the popularity or the success of movies and television shows these days. But when it was pretty fresh and new back then with message boards and forums and stuff like that, Kristen talks about going in and having a look at some of the comments that had been written and some of the things that people were saying. But I guess these days with Twitter and that, it comes to them more directly, so they don't have to search for anything anymore. Yeah. If anything, they have to try to block it because it's coming at them so thick and fast, where before, because they didn't have necessarily a personal space where people could address them directly, it was more going onto the fan forums and the message boards to read what people were saying.
Yeah, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. The difference between now and then is it was easier to ignore people that you disagreed with because you had to search for a message board. You had to search for a place to, you had to create an account, and you were at the whim of an administrator who, some were more kind of anal retentive about things than others. Remember when hot linking was a bad thing?
Yes, that was weird. Now everybody wants you to link to everything.
Yeah, it's funny because when bandwidth was at a premium, it's just like, no, I've shared this picture, but if you share it, it will eat up my data and blah, 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 and now no one cares because we all share things on Facebook. I don't know what's wrong with my microphone. Everything is hooked up the way it normally is, so I don't understand what the problem is.
It's kind of like it's coming in and out in waves, and I don't know if the fan that you've got going there is having an impact on like airflow into the microphone. Maybe you can redirect the fan somewhere, but I don't know.
Yeah, next time you throw something else up on the screen, I'll fix that. But I just
it's a different world.
In many ways, I'm glad that we're more connected, but in other ways, it's kind of sad.
Yeah, because we do have too much of an impact, I think, fandom on their TV shows. There's letting the writers and the creators do what they want, and then there's interference from fans. And I guess it's a juggling act for them because one, they've got to keep the fans happy, but two, they've got to have their creative freedom as well.
Yeah, it's a sort of Damocles hanging over all of us now.
Yeah. All right, well, speaking about the impact that shows can have on fans in reverse, the CW is, or today, released a series of poster images promoting the need to wear masks. They've got real heroes wear masks is the thing that they've come up with, and here is the posters that they've. I'll just bring them up here now. So there's one of Superman, played by Tyler Hoechlin, wearing a surgical mask, and they've done these for many of the characters from the CW superhero shows. There's Superman right there. Also, they've got one of Melissa Benoist as Supergirl, wearing a mask. I seem to think that these might be photoshopped. I'm not sure because
I would assume so.
Yeah, they're very well done. But I assume that they're photoshopped because they seem to be existing images that they've already got in place. Other characters from the CW that are also include Bebo and the Flash. Bebo one's an interesting one. He's kind of got a cult following. Also, they've got Stargirl, Black Lightning, and there's another one with White Canary as well. And it's an important message. And yes, a lot of debate. While Superman wouldn't necessarily need the mask, he is giving an example. He, as always, is teaching a lesson and, proving to us that, everybody should do the right thing to help each other out.
Yeah, I don't know if my microphone's better now, but I think to a certain extent you have... we don't know if he would be like an asymptomatic carrier. So he could spread it, especially since, his breath is obviously stronger than ours. But no, somebody in the Mind the Gap in the chat, pointed out how strange Superman is just now so casual in all of the media and the marketing, and I'm glad.
Yeah, he always used to be hidden.
Well, that and it's. I'm wondering now if we talked about this last week. If AT&T wants to get more mileage out of these IPs and having this whole thing where we can't have it here because we're going to have it over there. Maybe the current heads of state are just like, no, like if people want to see them on TV, put them on TV.
Venkman saying he's never watched Legends of Tomorrow, so what the heck was Bebo? It's hard to explain. You just gotta watch the series. It was a toy, and then it kind of took a life of its own, and almost like a gremlin in some ways, toy kind of thing like that. And then it became something more, and it's kind of it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah, I love that it's a thing. The first time I ever saw him was during the Crisis, so I wasn't exactly sure what it was, but the way all the characters were reacting, like this was like a desecration of something that they cherished. It just made me laugh, so I was kind of down with it. I'm always up for shows finding running gags to go with.
Exactly, as Mind the Gap says, it was a running gag on Legends. It was a toy that went back in time, and Vikings started worshipping it. There was a giant version of it, almost like the Marshmallow Man in Ghostbusters. It's just been an ongoing thing, and it did start off as a toy in the TV series, but has taken on a life of its own. So that's the wearing the masks thing for COVID-19. All heroes, or real heroes, wear masks, and we do hope that the production on Superman and Lois can begin as planned in September in Vancouver. All things going well with Supergirl, obviously due to Melissa's pregnancy starting a lot later. So we'll keep you posted on how things go on that front. All right, well, now we turn our direction to the comic book world, and is it no wonder that the darker side of DC Comics is something that they continue to explore when series like Death Metal, Dark Knight's Death Metal, Dark Knight's what is it? Dark Knight's Death Metal, Legends of the Dark Knights, all these Dark Knight's Death Metal series keep selling out even before they've bloody been published. I mean, they've got a third printing now for Dark Knight's Death Metal number 3. Dark Knight's Death Metal, Legends of the Dark Knights number 1 is already sold out before it got into the stores today, and so they're going back for another printing of that. It's just going gangbusters. Either they're not printing enough, or these things are really going, like hotcakes, as the saying goes.
I think it's probably somewhere in the middle there. I don't think they're printing enough. They're probably printing a pretty significant amount, but it could be that I don't know what the reorder system is now, because sometimes companies allow you to reorder up to a certain amount of time. So it could be that they had their print run, and then more shops were like, no, I'm getting a lot of interest in this, so they go back to press with it. I think it's fascinating that we're in a world where they go into third printings and showing how important print still is to people, because you don't need a second printing with digital. What, a second scan? I mean, that's how it works.
Yeah, so Dark Knight's Death Metal number 3 by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo is in stores August 11th, but it's already sold out ahead of its on-sale date, along with the anthology one-shot Dark Knight's Death Metal Legends of the Dark Knights number 1, which hits stores today. These issues continue the unfolding story of DC's most metalist event of all time, and also feature early appearances of new antagonist, the Robin King. So Dark Knight's Death Metal arrives August 11th. Dark Knight's Death Metal number 3, second printing, will arrive 2 weeks later on August 25th with a recolored version of the original cover. Dark Knight's Death Metal Legends of the Dark Knights number 1, second printing, also arrives in shops August 25th with a recolored cover as well. And the reprint will happen again 3 weeks after the first issue hit shelves on this week, August 4th.
I hope people are enjoying it. I want people to like what they like, especially nowadays when we kind of need everything we can get.
Yeah. So, Dark Knight's Death Metal, not everybody's cup of tea, but obviously a lot of people are enjoying it and wanting to get the next issues. So, Dark Knight's Death Metal Dex Doomsday downstairs in the ding dong, says Venkman.
I just snorted.
Now, on the comic book front of things, today DC announced that our friend, my friend, Australian friend, Tom Taylor is back at it. Always, I know, I'm always tooting the Australian horn. Injustice Year Zero is a new series that's coming. It's going to be 14 chapters, and it will be set before the Injustice Year... what was it? Injustice Gods Among Us original story. So this is before Superman shoved his fist through Joker's chest, turning him into the fascist that he became. Obviously, people want to see the prequel to this particular story.
So they want to read about the DC universe.
Which pretty much is what was the case before Injustice happened.
I mean, again, DC is going to market properties that are popular, and the Injustice comics, man, there are a lot of them. Every once in a while on those DC sales, like I'll look through like the trade paperback sales, and there's like 50 billion Injustice books, and that's like the original, volumes, and then the complete volumes and stuff like that. So it just seems weird to me that since it's supposed to be kind of like the DC universe up until this certain point where Superman kills the Joker, I'm assuming at this point that Taylor is going to seed a lot of what happened as kind of seeing it coming instead of just this being an adventure of the DC universe.
Kenneth is, and it's a name I haven't seen before in our chat, so welcome, Kenneth, if this is your first time watching the show live. He asks, how do you get comic books when the stores are closed? Good question. I'm not sure about there in the States how many of the stores are still remaining open, but there is the ability to, I believe, to subscribe and either get them delivered. Michael, you could probably correct me on that.
Yeah, and people are doing curbside. A lot of stores are doing curbside where they're inside the store. You call, you've already paid, or you pay cash, and they bring it out to your car. Most stores are still doing that.
Okay, here in Australia we call it click and collect.
Which, as usual, Australia just has a more charming way of referring to things. Seriously, and I say that as somebody who is currently binging a podcast about the Doom Patrol that's done by two Aussies. So I'm hearing a lot of Australian slang that I'm not used to. Nothing like Lex Luthor II from the 90s. There's no fair dinkum coming along. Or cobber. I haven't heard a single cobber. That's actually a little disappointing. But no, I just, different stores are doing different things. I am sure there are stores that are just opening and letting people come in because they don't care, because I'm not going to go down that road.
There are stores, depending on, I'm not sure how it works there either, but stores here have, depending on their, how many square meters, what size of store they are, how many people they're allowed to have, with the whole social distancing thing. So some of them have a sign out in the front door saying, 4 people allowed or 12 people allowed. And so you can still come in to a store if they are remaining open, or as you say, they have the opportunity where you can, wait out the front and they'll bring out whatever they need in a contactless type of system where you can still purchase your books.
Yeah, it's funny. There's so many restaurants. Like, there's a pizza chain here in the United States that says, your pizza goes from a 450-degree oven right to you, and no one touches it. And you gotta wonder, so what was happening before? like it seems to me that pizza. Like pizza is one of those. Well, once it's baked at 450 degrees, I'm assuming anything that's virus is killed. But it just seems to me like pizza, especially, is one of those things where you could take it out with one of those big wooden things and just put it in the box.
Yeah. And
you shut the box, and like you're not really touching pizza to begin with.
That's true.
So,
Jerry, I'm gonna make a special one for you tonight.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like like I get it. It's a marketing thing. It's like a friend of mine right before we started tonight sent me, somebody has designed a shirt that has the mask built right in. And it's just because we're clever creatures and we want to sell stuff, that's what we'll do. But yeah, shops, small businesses are getting hit the hardest with this. And I'm not suggesting that, the healthcare system across the world, and especially here in the United States, isn't being taxed as in stressed enough, and they're running out of funds, they're running out of help. The frontline workers are getting sick. My place of business recently started mandating masks, and I've only had to ask a few people to please put on a mask or pull your mask up. What's wrong with you? That's not what I say. But then you got people shooting at cops because they're asked to put on masks. So it's one of those things where the smart stores are finding a way. Because comics, there is the thing about wanting to go into a comic store and flip through the back issue bin, or if they've got like cheap boxes. I know cheap boxes aren't a big thing in Australia, from what I understand. But or at least in the parts of Australia I hear from people that I know. And there's kind of there's a social aspect to it, like especially the comic shop I used to go to. Wednesdays it was like Cheers, you would walk in, Mike, and everyone would be happy. But now with Polis, it's so easy to just get the books that are in your box, put them in a bag, wear gloves, have the person either pay over the phone or give you the cash. You're handling everything through gloves. Then you take the books home and you let them sit for 3 days. I mean, that's all you have to do. Because I don't think you're going to wipe off a comic with a wet wipe of some kind. With a bleach wipe or something. Even if it's bagged and board, it's gonna leave a film, and no one wants that. So I'm glad that shops are figuring it out.
Just quickly before we go to our break about Injustice Year Zero, the first three chapters are available now to download immediately for a bundle for $2.49, which is pretty good. You can get it through Read DC or Comixology, or you can get them individually, each chapter for 99 cents on all participating digital platforms. And I'm interested. I like Tom Taylor, and I've always been saying I want to see him write a non-evil Superman. So this could possibly be where we can get that. So being a pre-Injustice prequel, if you like, this might be interesting to see Tom Taylor tackling a more normal DC universe.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I mean, you think about these companies that have, cultivate a creative staff, and people get pigeonholed into doing a certain thing. And it seems like Tom Taylor's like, you want to do an evil version of the DC universe? He's your guy. And it's just like, it's one of those things. It's because you're good at it, it comes back to bite you. But I am completely convinced that the best thing they can do is keep Robert Venditti on a book, because he's doing great things. I mean, he seems to have a great understanding of the character.
Yes.
And I saw on Twitter the other day, he shared the GIF of Clark changing to Superman in Superman 3, and I'm like, oh, that's one of my favorite parts too. But yeah, give Tom Taylor something, y'all. I think there's got to be a certain money-making part of Injustice for them to keep doing these books.
For
if
sure.
He's making money for you, good Lord, give him something.
Indeed. All right, we're going to take a quick break, play some messages, and then come back and talk some more comic book stuff and some collectibles and things right after these messages. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back real soon. Here we go.
We'll be back in a moment with the exciting climax of today's episode. So stand by.
Look, up in the sky.
It's a bird.
It's a plane. No, it's SupermanHomepage.com, the #1 Superman fan site in the world. SupermanHomepage.com, covering the world of Superman from the 1930s to today. News, reviews, rumors, and reports. SupermanHomepage.com for all your Superman comics, TV shows, movies, cartoons, radio shows, and more. Everything you ever wanted to know about the Man of Steel and more. SupermanHomepage.com.
Thanks, Superman Homepage, for all the support over the years. I really appreciate it.
I'm Matt Bomer, I'm the voice of Superman and Superman Unbound, and this is the Superman Homepage.
Right here on Superman Homepage.
I'm freezing! Superman!
Uh-oh, sounds like Lisa and Scott are trapped in the icy cave of that frosty-faced villain, Captain Cold. This is a job for Superman.
My fast freeze zapper will freeze Superman forever.
No way, Captain. Here, kids, my new Superman Hot Cocoa Mix is the super-tasting way to warm up.
It's really sweet. And chocolatey.
And see, Captain Cold can't take this warm reception. New Superman Hot Cocoa, the super-tasting way to warm up.
Maybe I should get a little closer.
And we're back on WGBS TV Live, where if you want to be a caller on our show tonight, all you have to do is find Skype, search for Superman Homepage, or open Skype, find Superman Homepage, send us a message saying you want to be a caller on tonight's program. All right, in the comic book world of things, other than Injustice Year Zero, this is what's available for Superman fans reading comic books this week. We have this week's comics. Let's have a look. Let me just turn that off. Here we go. We have this week Deceased Dead Planet #2 is available this week, and it's available in a number of variant covers, including this Superman 1, which is currently making up part of the background of our website, and it's also available in a movie tribute cover. Also available this week is Justice League #50, and that is also available in a variant cover as well, which makes up another portion of our background of our website. Also available this week, Young Justice #17, and that is also available in a variant cover. And as Michael mentioned, on the digital side of things, we have Superman, Man of Tomorrow, written by Venditti, who's doing a great job. There we have Metallo there on the front cover. So that is available to download as of now. And that is what's available on the comic book side of things for comic book readers for this week.
Yay! New stuff.
And both Justice League number 50 and Young Justice number 17 have been reviewed by our reviewers this week. And I can tell you just quickly that Justice League number 50, you think being an anniversary issue that it would probably be a big deal. They used to always make such a big deal of 50s and 100s and what have you. Unfortunately, Justice League number 50 is not that big a deal this week, according to our reviewer James Lance, who gave it a lowly 1 out of 5 review. He says that, like the League in this entire story arc, this story's intentions are good, but the execution leaves something to be desired.
Yeah, it used to be a big deal, but they keep renumbering it, so maybe I guess it's just not
that big a deal anymore.
Thing.
Yeah. We're also in our review for this week's Young Justice number 17, which that's Justice League there. Young Justice number 17. This week, our reviewer Tony Parker also gave this a lowly 1 out of 5, so not a good week for comic books as far as our reviewers are concerned. Tony says that just when you thought the book was getting back on track, in comes a filler story that is so uniquely Brian Michael Bendis, I could have guessed it from the first page.
He's got his ticks.
He's got unnecessary characters that seem to act as props and plot devices rather than actual characters. Check. Meandering conversations that take what could be said in a few words into whole pages of schlock. Check. So a number of unfortunate things that our reviewer didn't like about this.
That is a Bendisism. He likes to make the dialogue natural, and it really comes down to personal taste at that point. Because if you just overhear people, I mean, not like this, because we're having a pretty static conversation, and I'm not repeating myself and saying a lot of and ahs and all that. But I want to see that in a book. I kind of want. I'm into the unreality of what's going on, so I can understand that maybe this isn't exactly how people talk, and it seems a little pretentious to keep trying to push that.
So yeah, that's the side of comic books this week, and we do hope to have our review of the third book that I mentioned, the DC Dead Planet number 2, later this week as well. So that's comic books. So on the merchandise side of things, this week I got delivery of this Undone Superman watch. It's a made-to-order watch. It comes with a Kryptonian decryptor on the watch there. I've done a unboxing video available on our YouTube channel. And it has a dial that you have you can align up the Kryptonian letters to the English letters, and that kind of rotates around so that you can decrypt or decipher secret messages. I don't know why you'd want to do that or who you're sending them to and from. It's almost like the decipher things that they used to have, like what were they called back in the day?
Decoder rings.
Decoder rings, that's it. So it's a very nice watch there from undone.com, and you can check out my unboxing video up on our website, on our YouTube channel as well. And if you want to order that, it's available as a link there from undone.com. So a very nice little leather pouch thing that it comes in, and I was impressed to receive that yesterday in the mail.
Are unboxing videos weird to produce?
They are a little bit. It's just like I'm not the most excitable person. Like, I don't sit there and go, wow, check this out, and get all very animated with my hands moving everywhere like a lot of them that I see, and, all these jump cuts that people do. I'm pretty, just like, here it is, this is what it is, here it is, look at it, this is the feature. So I don't know if I'm the most exciting person to do an unboxing video. I don't look at many of them, but we've got a few comments from ours, or from the one that I did, people saying, oh, wow, that looks really cool, and so it's a thing that people like to see. I guess they like to see how it's almost like watching someone unwrap a Christmas present. I don't know.
That jump cutting thing that you were talking about is it's interesting that there's a certain level of professionalism in most like YouTube channels, like the people that are really into it and use it and monetize it. So it's interesting that, and I kind of did an experiment. I sat there on one channel and I just listened to it. I didn't look at it. I had another window open and I listened to it like it was a podcast, and I didn't have any disconnect. But watching those cuts come at you, it's just like there's like this thing in my mind, like this is weird, but it's because they wanted to cut something out, or they backed up or whatever, and they don't want to do it all in one take because that's hard. So it's interesting that that something that looks somewhat unprofessional is now considered professional and something you can do.
It's funny because whenever I'm doing the speeding bulletin videos, I always, if I make a mistake, I'll go back and start again. Like, so I don't want that. And if I do have to do a cut, I'll make sure I place an image over that, so that it's showing you something. So that's where I kind of hide the jump cuts. But it seems to be a thing that everyone loves, these whole jump cut things, and I don't get it myself. I like to be a bit more professional, but I guess that's what's considered professional, as you said.
Yeah, because these people, they're editing. Some of them may have a better facility with doing video editing, but all this stuff is so cheap and so easy to like kind of jump into. I mean, at work we sell things that I haven't bought one yet because I don't use my phone to do this, but they have a thing where you like a light, the key light.
Yes.
Where the little white thing where the phone's right in the middle of it. It's got a microphone, and I'm like, God, that's. Like, could I fit my webcam there? But then, here's my problem. I'll have that, I call it Incredible Hulk eyes, when people have the light positioned just right, and it's, like, right in their thing, and it looks like they're, like, about to transform into Lou Ferrigno. So, I wonder, and I have glasses, so that, like, I have to lower the brightness of the screen on my laptop. I have to turn the other monitor off. I have to have like everything off so that I don't have like this bright light in my face. So it's weird, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm not a big watcher of unboxing videos, but I know that they're a thing, and you're right about the equipment that you have to use. I mean, the microphone I'm using now is from an old like gaming headset, but the actual headset fell apart, so I'm just using the microphone part of it sitting on my desk in front of me. I mean, I know these people get these, really whiz-bang microphones that have an arm and a adjustability and everything like that. And I mean, you use what you can, and obviously what your budget allows you to. And yes, there's some amazing equipment out there, and I know you sell some of it at the business you work at, that really makes it affordable and easy to make professional-looking videos these days. And but just because you've got the tools doesn't necessarily mean that you can build a house.
Yeah, I was about to say, you could end up like Gene Hackman in Unforgiven, where he built the house with his bare hands, and the first time it rains, the roof is just pouring down on top of him.
Kenneth is asking to show my shirt. I'll just stand up a little bit in front of the camera here. This is a job for Superman shirt. It's a red one available. I'm not sure if there are other colours. So yes, that's the shirt for this week. We can see yours, Michael.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. Kenneth earlier made a comment that he would like to see something where Superman takes on Homelander from The Boys, and I don't know if you've ever watched The Boys. I binged the first season. Homelander is the Superman character, but he's wrong. Like he like the public persona is that he's all like good and pure, but he's evil. So I always kind of wanted to see. I'm kind of like Kenneth. It would be funny to see Superman take on a character like that. That's not like a General Zod. That's supposed to be him, but is just wrong, and all of the psychological implications from that.
There you go.
It's not. It's a very adult show.
Okay.
I will not recommend it for everybody. I happen to enjoy it because I thought they did an interesting job of crafting this world where superheroes are just jerks.
Okay. All right, moving on to other things. At the Superman homepage, we do a monthly Super Trivia Quiz, and the 3 questions we're asking you this time around are, what is the name of the main Kryptonian robot who usually takes care of the Fortress of Solitude? What is the name of Clark Kent's dog in the TV series Smallville? And what is the name of Jor-El's flying creature in the movie Man of Steel? If you think you know the answers to all 3 questions this month, head to supermanhomepage.com. Go under the favorites menu and you'll find the Super Trivia Quiz, and we will see who can guess or who knows the answers to all 3 questions. The third one is a little tougher than the rest.
Yeah, I was just thinking that I can't trip that off the top of my head.
So I mean, obviously you can do your research and look up these answers, but it's always interesting to try to test your knowledge just off the cuff without having to look it up. But yeah, so to get into the Super Trivia Quiz this month, head to supermanhomepage.com. Under the favorites menu, you will find the Super Trivia Quiz. Michael in the comments asks, how about a story of Superman versus Brightburn? I still haven't watched that movie. It came up on Netflix, I think, and I was just like, yeah, not big into horror movies, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and really that's what it is. I used to get my my knickers in a twist, so to speak, about the like, why are they doing this? And really the playing field is just so big right now that, you know, it's somebody going, what if Superman was a horror movie? And I guess some of us are really attached to Superman, so we don't want to think about it in those terms. But if you did go to the real world, there might be a chance that it would go wrong in a hurry. We haven't watched it because there's a lot of bone breaking in it, and Rachel gets triggered by that. But I mean, the fact that the iconography of like the trailer in that movie is so Man of Steel.
Yes,
that
it's obviously.
It's weird.
It is. Yeah, it is definitely evoking the Man of Steel vibe. So it was intentional that you know, that they're playing on that. So you know, if it's your thing, go for it. And I know a lot of people have seen it. And no, Superman versus Brightburn is not on Netflix. Brightburn was on Netflix. There is no Superman versus Brightburn. We're talking about if that would be a possibility, but no, it's not an actual thing. It would be interesting to see Superman try to, you know, mold a young child of that ilk, you know, and try to bring him around. That would be an interesting take. Superboy Prime, Justin's calling him. It'd be an interesting, you know, story element, I guess.
Yeah, and Mind the Gap's mentioning others like The Mighty and The One and Irredeemable, which was actually a really good series of what I read of it. That was Mark Waid's kind of take on what if Superman went evil.
Okay. So let's go back in history, Michael, back to a time where Superman comics were published in this week over the past number of decades. Here's your intro.
Come with me now, my son, as we break through the bubble of your earthly confinement, traveling through time and space.
Alrighty, we are going first to 1960, because apparently not a whole lot of Superman was published in 1940 and 1950 in the first week of August, but we have the Son of Bizarro from Superman number 140, which is such a fun story. Like, they have a kid and it's normal, and that upsets them. So they send it to Earth, and Supergirl takes the child in, but through the natural metamorphosis of the kid, it turns into a Bizarro, and she thinks it's her fault. It's a great story. I absolutely love it. Also in 1960, you have Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane number 20, which has a cover of Supergirl hugging Superman and Lois all upset because, apparently letting your cousin live with you is bad. I don't know. I'm sure Lucy Lane's over all the time. It
says, "Dad, I'm so happy you married Lois." Oh. She's calling him Dad.
Like I guess they adopted her.
Wow.
That's that's wrong. Jumping ahead to 1970, we are in the last days of the Silver Age for Superman as a title. This is an imaginary story where Lex Luthor was Superman and Clark Kent is Killer Kent, and he's shooting at him with a Tommy gun. This is one of those covers that I would see a lot in Superman from the 30s to the 70s. Nothing in 1980. Jumping ahead to 1990, you have Action Comics number 657, which was a Toyman story that has a creepy cover. That bear smile just wigs me out. But it's a Toyman story that is actually pretty good. It's got Carrie Gamble art too, so nothing really wrong with that. Jumping ahead to 2000, we have Emperor Joker, the special, where it's revealed what's going on and why why Mixie's kind of trying to get Superman to save the day and all that. The Joker gets a part of Mixie's powers, and it was this was a fun story. I remember enjoying this. This was one of the few times that they actually came together for a crossover. And then in 2010, we have The Last Family of Krypton number 1, which looks like another one of these concepts where it's not Kal-El that comes to Earth, it's like the entire family comes to Earth. And what's that? It was written by Cary Bates with art by Renato Alum. In the real world, August 7th, 1944, John Glover, who played Lionel Luthor in Smallville, was born in Salisbury, Maryland. Also in 1957, Paul Dini was born. And apparently, it's like everybody was born on August 7th because Michael Shannon was born. Michael Shannon's only 2 years older than me? My God, that man has lived a long life. God, he's got some weather on his face. And he was born in Lexington, Kentucky. And Eric Johnson, who was Whitney Fordman in Smallville, was born in Edmonton, Alberta in 1979. And that is This Week in History.
There you have it. So, yeah, a lot of birthdays this week and some interesting comics looking back in history. So, yeah, really cool to look back and see what was going on in the world of Superman this week back over the decades. It always brings back a lot of fond memories seeing the covers of books from the early days of when I started collecting Superman comics. It's just like, oh, I remember that, and you remember the feeling of going back to going picking up comic book stores and having your pull list from the guy behind the counter that you would chat with, and different experience these days with me collecting my comics digitally. But yeah, really fond memories of picking up some of those early issues of comic books in the early to mid 90s when I first started collecting Superman comic books. Obviously, there's a lot of people watching and who were probably collecting books from a lot younger and a lot earlier. But for me, it was around the time of the death of Superman that I came in.
Yeah. It's also weird to think with Emperor Joker and all that, the people were reviewing those books for the site. Mm-hmm.
I remember the Emperor Joker thing being such a big deal for us because we've discussed this before, but it leaked online because they had a blacked out version of just who the villain behind all this was. The Joker wasn't revealed at the time because it wasn't called Emperor Joker. When it first came out, we didn't know who this was behind all this craziness that was going on, this new reality, and then somebody at DC. accidentally uploaded the cover and then seconds later took it down and put up the blacked version, a blacked out version, but somebody had grabbed it and sent it to me, and so we had it. And I was like, oh, the dilemma, do I leak it? Do I not? Will I get in trouble? Because, we want to stay on DC's good side, and obviously this wasn't supposed to get out there the way it did, and so what to do. And we did end up running the story, and there was no real fallout from it, but yeah, I sat on that one for a couple of hours going, what do I do here?
Yeah, it's funny to think now, though, that you can't have that as a surprise when you pick up a trade paperback that's called Emperor Joker.
No.
Like, it's right there in the title of what's going on. So I guess at that point, it's just, the idea of, well, how does this happen? It's funny to think, too, that even though they were still doing the triangle numbering system at this point, and they did it up to like the beginning of 2002. We interviewed Jeff Loeb years ago, and he expressed his disdain for that style of storytelling.
Yes.
So it's really interesting going back now and looking at how often they didn't do it. It was like, every once in a while you had like Critical Condition, Y2K, and you had Emperor Joker, but for the most part, they were really telling their own stories, which is why it's interesting that they're collecting all that stuff again. So, it's kind of depressing to think that was 20 years ago.
Yeah, indeed. Very depressing. Venkman, before you go, can we have another bibbo from Bailey, the Baileyest Bailey?
Of course we can have another bibbo.
Whoever baileyed up. And hopefully YouTube doesn't cut out this time or conk out this time. So we'll definitely get that before we depart for tonight's show. Anything else you want to touch on, Michael, before we wrap things up for tonight?
I got a Superman cyborg pop.
You found one?
A friend of mine found one. It had a banged up box. I didn't care, but he is now mine. And I thank my friend Andy for getting that for me. But I was like, he texted me. He's like, "Do you still want this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, yeah, that'd be fine. I'd be cool with that. But no, I got one. I didn't have to pay an arm and a leg for it.
Excellent.
And I didn't have to wait until it was cheaper too. So that's my exciting Superman thing for that.
Very cool. All right, well, before we do wrap up tonight's show, I want to thank everyone for watching tonight's episode of WGBS TV Live. And once again, thank all those who were in the comments there on YouTube. Really appreciate your involvement in the show, and great to see some new names in there and some old, I won't call you old, but some regular viewers. We really appreciate your ongoing support. And a huge thank you to you, my co-host, Mr. Michael Bailey. Thank you, Mike.
Steve, it's a pleasure as always. Now I'm going to go get a soda.
And a huge thank you to our sponsors and patrons, Douglas Meacham and John Patrick Van Pelt. And if you want to sponsor the Superman homepage, please head to patreon.com/Superman homepage, where you too can be a sponsor for as little as $1. You might also like to become a Superman homepage YouTube member. All you have to do is click on the join button below. There are different levels of perks. Now, the complete 1 hour video of tonight's show will remain available on the Superman homepage, website, and our YouTube channel. If you tuned in late or missed part of the show or want to watch the whole thing again in full, you'll be able to do that at those two locations. But we'll be back next week on Tuesday, August 11th. I'm skipping ahead too far. At 7:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time for another edition of WGBS TV Live. Look forward to talking to you then. Until then, be sure to check out supermanhomepage.com for all your daily news updates on everything surrounding the Man of Steel. I'm Steve Yunus, on behalf of myself and Michael Bailey. Thanks for watching WGBS TV Live, brought to you by supermanhomepage.com.